Ici, ce n'est pas la joie. It's hard to be happy here. These are the words of our colleague Salisu Abdelaziz. He's an MSF health promoter in Magaria, Niger. Salisu says that he thinks about leaving his homeland every day because he has no future there, as the rains no longer serve to promote the agriculture that they need to survive. And the more that they push, the land yields less and less. And when the rains finally do come, malaria hits with a vengeance and people get sick. Sadly, Salisu's story is one of many we hear. In Somalia, flash floods, recurring droughts, and this past year locusts have together plagued the land and destroyed lives and livelihoods. As a medical and humanitarian organization working in some of the most climate vulnerable regions of the world, we treat patients experiencing climate vulnerability. We treat patients experiencing the health impacts of the climate emergency. As first-hand witnesses, it's crystal clear. The climate crisis is the most vulnerable, hits the most vulnerable people the hardest. From Niger to Mozambique, from Honduras to Bangladesh, our teams are responding to health needs linked to climate and environmental changes. Our patients are suffering spikes in infectious diseases like malaria and dengue, and more severe malnutrition and health issues resulting from the extreme weather events. The climate scientists tell us that these issues will only become more severe as the climate crisis comes about. But getting discouraged is not an answer. We must choose hope and we must choose to act together. At MSF, we have trialed practical solutions like telemedicine, use thermal insulated tents, and are deploying solar oxygen and solar generators. And together we can find more. But these technologies must be scaled and shared at pace if we are to achieve a better future for all. Also standing in the way is that millions of people around the world still lack basic access to healthcare, and the climate emergency will only multiply those needs. This presents a double challenge for humanitarian organizations, that of meeting growing needs by placing people at the center, while at the same time changing our response models to be more responsive, regional, and resilient. At MSF, that means changing how we work from A to Z. We are reviewing our operational strategies, our emergency response capacity, and setting up community-based models of care. MSF is learning to take a planetary health approach to how we work and carrying out studies to understand better how to become more efficient and more sustainable. We are investing in innovation and technologies to strengthen health service delivery, as well as to improve quality of care. Concurrently, we must look at our own operational footprint, as responding to health and humanitarian crises around the world can be carbon intensive, especially in getting to the last mile. To live up to doing no harm, we must transform our service delivery model and undertake system-wide change. Such changes mean overhauling our supply chains, rethinking transportation, equipping field hospitals with renewable energy, and ensuring sustainable waste management practices. It also means finding an alternative to single-use items and boosting local purchase. We're one part, of course, of a much larger transition underway in the sector, one which needs a paradigm shift of tectonic proportions. But make no mistake, new tools and technologies alone are not enough. There is, in fact, not an app for that, and there's not an app for everything. We also need innovative partnership models and more local, regional, and agile emergency response capacities. We must be prepared to respond to concurrent emergencies in multiple locations at the same time. And to do so, we need to strengthen our work with communities. They are, after all, the first responders, and they can ensure they are better equipped and better able to deal with climate shocks. Luckily, we also have some recent experience to go on. In fact, health systems that are withstanding COVID offer tips to help us prepare for the climate crisis. Successful health systems are community-centered, resilient, and more responsive to health needs. They are decentralized, able to mobilize local supply chains, and are focused on preventive health strategies. Yet COVID also provides a stark warning that without affordable and equitable access to care and adapted technologies, we will fail on our promise of health for all. Alongside much-needed race to zero emissions, we need a parallel race to bring healthcare for all and healthcare closer to those who need it most. To start with, we can strengthen local health systems and ensure that they are well-funded, staffed, and equipped. We can improve forecasting, surveillance, and diagnostic tools. And we can share our medical knowledge with both climate and environmental scientists. Doing so, we can build a more just, equitable, and sustainable health system for all. Just as the climate crisis knows no borders, neither can our collective drive for planetary health. Thank you.
Thank you very much.